What if you could invest in slowing down time itself? I mean, it sounds like science fiction, right? But that's the incredible promise behind this new wave of biological age testing. This tech isn't just changing how we look at our health, it's creating a whole new multi-billion-dollar investment frontier. So the big question for any investor is pretty simple. Is this a ticket to the future, or is it just hype?
Okay, let's really think about this for a second. The idea here is just so powerful. You're not just betting on some new health gadget or a fleeting wellness trend. No, you're tapping into the fundamental human desire to live longer, healthier lives. And if you're looking for a long-term play, well, you can't really get a bigger market than that. So, let's start with the bull case. And honestly, it's a big one. The whole argument for jumping into this space is built on a massive, undeniable, and well, incredibly profitable demographic shift that's happening as we speak.
This quote from investor Dmitry Kaminsky, I think it just perfectly nails the bull case. We're not talking about selling a few test kits here and there. We're talking about a huge and growing market of retirees who have the money and, more importantly, the motivation to spend it on their health and longevity.
And this right here, this is what analysts are calling the silver tsunami. It's this tidal wave of aging baby boomers with more spending power than any generation before them. Now, this isn't just a trend, it's a demographic certainty, and it's fueling this massive demand for longevity solutions. And what's at the very heart of that demand? You guessed it, biological age testing.
To put some real numbers on this, the market is already worth over $1.28 billion. So let's be super clear. This is not some theoretical, futuristic idea anymore. This is a real industry that is generating serious revenue right now.
And that's just where we are today. The market is projected to grow at a blistering 11.4% per year for the next decade. Now that is the kind of growth that makes investors sit up and pay attention. It's a huge signal that this sector has some serious wind at its back.
And here's something really important to understand. This isn't about face creams anymore. The industry made a really smart pivot, rebranding from anti-aging, which sounds a bit cosmetic, to the much more serious and medical-sounding longevity science. And that shift has attracted serious money. We're talking nearly $8.5 billion in 2024 alone. That tells you the smart money sees this as a legitimate biotech play.
But of course, every great investment story has a catch. So now we've got to flip the coin and ask the really tough question. Is the science actually solid enough to back up that trillion-dollar promise? Well, welcome to the bear case. So, what even is biological age? Well, think of it like this. Your chronological age, that's just the number of candles on your birthday cake. Your biological age, on the other hand, is supposed to be a measure of how well your body is actually holding up on the inside. It's meant to be a way better predictor of your health, and maybe even how long you'll live. So how do these companies actually measure it? They're looking at things called biomarkers. Think of them like little clues inside your body that tell a story about how you're aging. You can see on the slide, some tests look at these tiny chemical tags on your DNA. Others measure the little protective caps on your chromosomes called telomeres. And some just use a bunch of standard blood tests. The science is pretty complex, but the goal is simple. Get a snapshot of your health at the cellular level. And then, you read a headline like this. And not just from anywhere, this is from the American Medical Association's Journal of Ethics. I mean, wow, it's a direct shot right at the heart of the entire industry. So what on earth is going on? Okay, here's the core problem. There's no industry standard. It's basically the Wild West of biological age testing. You could literally send your DNA to two different companies on the exact same day and get two completely different answers. For scientists, and for any serious investor, that kind of inconsistency is a massive flashing red flag. This table really just highlights the problem in a nutshell. I mean, just take a look. You've got True Diagnostic, which is doing this deep, complex, and really expensive analysis. Then you've got Tally Health, which uses a simple cheek swab. The key takeaway for an investor is that you're not just picking different brands of the same thing, you're often betting on completely different technologies that use their own secret black box methods. That makes trying to pick a winner incredibly difficult. So, keeping all that scientific messiness in mind, let's turn to what really matters for an investor, the cold, hard numbers. How have the people who got in early on this actually done? First, let's just be clear about what we're talking about. Traditional biotech is like trying to fix a single leaky faucet. It targets one specific disease. Longevity biotech, though, that's like trying to rebuild the entire plumbing system for the house. It's trying to tackle aging itself. It's a much bigger ambition, and with that comes much, much bigger risk. And that risk is right here in this number. For all the hype, one analysis found that the median stock performance for these true longevity companies, from the day they hit the market until now, is a jaw-dropping negative 91%. I mean, that number is just a brutal reality check for anyone getting excited about those big growth projections.
But there is a little bit of a silver lining here for investors who are really interested in this space. You can still play the longevity trend without betting the farm on these unproven consumer tests. I'm talking about companies developing treatments for specific age-related diseases like Alzheimer's or heart disease. They're all part of this same ecosystem, and they might be a safer, more indirect way to invest in the theme.
Okay, so beyond the shaky science and the rough stock performance, there are other serious risks to think about. These are the kinds of hidden dangers lurking in the business model itself, especially when it comes to ethics, your data, and a real lack of regulation.
Just imagine for a second, you get a test result that says your biological age is 10 years older than you actually are. That's pretty terrifying, right? Now imagine that the same company that just gave you that scary news immediately tries to sell you their proprietary and probably very expensive supplement to fix it. That's the ethical minefield we're talking about. And because this whole market is largely unregulated, it's created a kind of free-for-all that can be really confusing for consumers and their doctors.
And let's not forget about your data. I mean, you are handing over your most personal information, your DNA, your genetic blueprint, to companies that frankly have a pretty spotty track record on security. We all saw what happened with the massive data breach at 23andMe. So as an investor, you have to ask, do you trust these companies with your money? And maybe just as important, with all of their customers' genetic data. Okay, so let's bring it all home. We've looked at the massive bull case driven by this demographic wave and the deeply concerning bear case that's all about the science and the actual financial performance. How do you weigh it all?
This table really lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got this incredible opportunity, a huge market with explosive growth. On the other side, the reality, unproven science, a laundry list of risks, and, let's be honest, just awful past returns. The bottom line couldn't be clearer. This is a classic high-risk, high-reward investment. It is absolutely not for the faint of heart.
So what could actually change the game here? What could turn this all around? Well, the industry desperately needs a gold standard. Think about it. Once we figured out that LDL cholesterol was a reliable biomarker for heart disease risk, it unlocked the entire multi-billion-dollar statin industry. Longevity science needs to find its own version of that, a single agreed-upon biomarker for aging. That is the key that could finally turn all this hype into a legitimate investment.
And that really brings us to the final, crucial question that you have to ask yourself. When you look at these companies, what are you really betting on? A genuine medical revolution that's about to change everything we know about health? Or are you just betting on a very slick marketing revolution that's just gotten really good at tapping into our oldest fears? Your answer to that will probably determine if this becomes one of the great investment stories of our lifetime or just another bubble that was always destined to pop.